Oh, yes.
Woo!
All right. Now just
Did we do it?
It's live.
we did it. We did it, team. All right, real quick.
Oh, damn.
And then we're going to do this real slow tilt and come back. Boom.
Look
What
at that.
happened to our awesome intro?
What is up, everyone? How is everybody doing? I obviously am still producing. I was telling Shannon that it's part of our charm that nothing goes out without a hitch, but that's okay. It's what we're doing. Welcome back to the show, Katie.
Hi!
How's it going?
Oh my gosh, I have missed you guys so much.
Well, we've missed you
It's been
too.
like forever.
Way too long. It's been like a month.
I
think.
know.
It's been like a month.
It has.
And
The last time I was on was the Golden Nuns or whatever.
oh yeah, Lord,
Oh.
that was a long time ago.
I
Yeah.
know.
How have you survived?
I have been really depressed. I'm not gonna lie. I haven't had a lot of. Actually, no. I've been really busy.
I've been doing the show. I've been doing the show every day since the Golden Nuns, and I still am depressed. So we're in the same boat there.
Oh, you were gone. You were gone a long time though.
Well, I was gone a week. It did feel like a long time though. And we'll say hello to Shannon again. Welcome back. How do you keep getting dragged into? Of all the comments that I've been reading on the videos that we've done in the past 2 weeks on the incel community, the majority of the sentiment is pity for you, and they're paying me out to be an asshole for forcing you to sit through these.
No, well, I asked to do them. I find it fascinating. I find it interesting. So it's not Kyle's fault.
See,
Go for
how
it,
often
Kyle.
do you hear that?
It's not Kyle's fault. Not this time.
And we'll say hello for the making their first appearance here. They social. I'm going to trip over your name all night just because it's such a compound word. Social Psych is one of the main mods from the I just learned this, the largest incel related anything online, and they happen to be a subreddit called IncelTears. And basically, well, I'm gonna let you, Soch, explain what it is that you do. So take it away.
Basically, I manage an online forum, of which the main purpose is, well, we describe ourselves as a part watchdog, part mocking subreddit. The main thing that our subreddit does, the content which we produce, is screenshots of posts that incels make online. We screenshot them, we block out their username, we post it, usually with funny comment of, oh, I wonder why this guy can't get a girlfriend, am I right, guys? And they hate us for it. I'm one of the folks, the insane cucks who manage this place. So yeah, that's kind of what I do. I've been managing for about a year,
Excellent.
I consider myself one of the heads, but there's a lot of people above me, so.
I wonder how you yourself stay grounded with the subject matter that you deal with on a daily basis. Because me and Shannon just dived into it on 3 shows, and seeing the things that we saw for those 3 was just depressing. Yeah. So I can imagine every day. Like I said, though, what it did was it really gave me a new appreciation for flat Earth. I've got to tell you. New appreciation.
I've spent the whole last month dealing with women that kill their babies in childbirth, and I think those women look great compared to incels.
we're just like the look at what decisions in life did we make that led us here, that led each of us to this point where
I've been asking myself that constantly for the past.
Oh my god.
okay. So what we do on this show, Shannon and we start out the show always with a couple of really lighthearted news stories before we dive into the really dark stuff. And I picked out, I think, 5 of the latest, just unbelievable stories from across the web, and I think that you guys are going to like those. We call this week in newsdom. So let's see what we've got here.
You guys,
All right.
I tried to submit my own, and Kyle said no.
I did not
got
say.
rejected.
I did not say that.
Kyle,
I did not say that. I did not say that. We are going to get to those. But let me ask you a question. All right. So if you're looking at your screen now, what would you guys think if I told you to take these pieces that are going to appear on the screen and add them up? What do you think all of this adds up to? Okay. Number 1, of course, we're going to start with Walmart. All right.
Oh, I know this story.
I know this one.
Number 2, we're going to start with an electric scooter in Walmart. Number 3,
Yes!
a Pringles can.
I want to be this woman's friend.
Number 4, a wine bottle. Now, since you two know what this story is already, let me ask Soch. If you were looking at these items on your screen right now, what kind of story would you create with those 4 items on your screen?
Oh no. Oh dear.
I guarantee you it won't be anywhere close to the truth.
His spirit animal.
I know I can't
She's my
even like
spirit animal.
pretend to make up a story because I already know the story. And the story is
Well,
so ridiculous.
let me take the tension out of the room real quick, because all of these led up to this headline right here. Oh, sorry.
No. Oh. Spoilers.
Hold on. Let me cycle through real quick.
Oh no.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Everything's fine. Everything's fine.
Everything's good.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Click, 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 click.
Okay, here we go. Okay, apparently I didn't put the headline in here, but I'll just read it to you. Okay, Walmart bans a woman who rode a electric cart while drinking wine from a Pringles can. From the can, she was pouring
Normal
the wine.
Tuesday for me, honestly.
All right, so here's the story. Police in Texas received a strange call on Friday that involved a woman drinking wine in the parking lot of Walmart. According to USA Today, employees at the store in Wichita Falls had asked officers to ban this woman after she had begun drinking wine from a Pringles can for several hours as she rode around aimlessly on the electric cart.
They're made of paper. Like they must have saturated.
That's what
so
Shannon. That's what I'm saying. Like when I
must
read
have
the
been
story, I know. I was like, how did that can not dissolve?
But that's not the bigger question though. The bigger question is, what flavor of Pringles can did she pour her wine in?
That's fair.
Ooh.
That's fair. That's important because it gets into the tannins. If
Right.
you're good, if any sommelier.
I hope it was cheese. I hope it was cheese, because wine and cheese go brilliantly together.
I feel like
can't
the
deal with you
trash.
right now.
I feel like the trashiest choice would be sour cream and onion, the can you picked.
But yeah,
those are my
I totally
favorite.
went for that. But those are the best ones though.
I'm gonna try
I know,
that
but
later.
Okay. Let's go to the next one real quick. A blindfolded Utah teen crashes his car doing the Bird Box Challenge. Now, do you guys know what the Bird Box Challenge is?
Oh my God, was he blindfolded?
Yes, the Bird Box
I can
Challenge.
What
check
an idiot!
The Bird Box Challenge is was a movie on Netflix.
with
And
Sandra
it,
Bullock.
right, it bases you like you're blindfolded through the movie. So what geniuses today are doing, just like with all the other challenges that they do, is they're blindfolding themselves and trying to go through life like normal, because that's obviously going to happen. You obviously can remove your ability to see and still continue to get through life. Now, I'm totally okay with this story, is if it didn't put other people in jeopardy. Like, if there was some way that this guy could blindfold himself and then travel down a road as fast as he wanted to, that's natural selection at its best. The only downside is that he's putting other people at jeopardy. But who says in their head, okay, I'm going to blindfold myself, I'm going to get a car, and I'm still going to be able to drive. I'm going to get out of this okay. Like, this is not going to end badly.
Idiot.
Was he, did someone, like, help him, or was he by himself?
I think he had let's see. A blindfolded teen driver in Utah crashed into another car for obvious reasons.
That's not really the shocking part of the headline.
It says that a 17-year-old girl was driving with a 16-year-old passenger at the time of the crash. Then it explains what the Bird Box Challenge is. So I guess it had. She was trying to walk him through like where to drive, but you can't.
Oh my god! I miss when people ate laundry detergent and cinnamon.
I was just gonna say, can't teens just go back to like eating cinnamon,
or how about
Tide Pods,
dumping ice water on you? That was
do that stuff.
That was
discipline. That was philanthropy. That was for it.
There's another thing too, though, that there's another challenge that's going around that it's called the I can't remember the name of it. It's like Anya or something like that. It's a weird name, but a kid died this weekend from playing this, and basically what it is you go up to somebody and you say, like, it translates to "Are you packing?" And they did this. The kid pulled out a gun and it went off and shot his friend and killed his friend.
Holy shit!
Yeah. All right.
Well, that's not light or funny.
Now there.
Kyle, good work.
Well, hold on.
Good
Kyle.
We're gonna get to a good one right here. There are times in life where you just have to sit back and admire the when karma comes around and kicks someone that really deserves it in the ass. And if anybody deserves that, it's this guy. This pastor, Donnie Romero. When the Pulse nightclub shooting thing happened, this is the guy that said that they deserved it.
Oh, this story.
That they deserved it. They deserved to get shot.
My colleagues have been all over this.
Now, watch this. Pastor who called Pulse victims scum resigns amid a prostitution scandal. I don't get.
It's always those vocal assholes that have something to hide.
They always go through this. Like, it's a predictive cycle. If you are a preacher that it has any sort of notoriety, you are either going to be gay or you are either going to wind up in some other sex scandal. It happens to every single one of them. Literally every single one of them.
Yep.
Yes,
Look at
I was actually
can't pay for this.
I was actually waiting for them to be gay prostitutes.
That would be even better.
But that didn't happen.
That's happened before.
Nope.
It has, but not in this case.
But yeah, that's I don't think there's a need to go into reading that. Everybody knows what he said and how awful that was, but it's good to see him get his just
all over Patheos this week.
I bet. All right.
I don't cover that kind of stuff. So.
Two more. This one will make you happy. Cops say that a would-be kidnapper chased a woman into a karate studio, and that was a really bad move. A man tried to kidnap a woman by forcing her into his car in North Charlotte, North Carolina. Hey, she breaks free and runs into a nearby karate studio, pleading for help. You can already see how this ends. The suspect was carried outside in a stretcher after a fight with a karate head instructor. The incident happened at 9 p.m. Thursday. Said that there were still some kids in there doing dojo being picked up by parents. The young lady burst through the doors and stated that someone was trying to harm her. Shortly afterwards, a big male entered into the building. He said, not knowing what he wanted, I assumed he was there to inquire about some classes. I asked how I could assist him, and he said he was there for the lady. She insisted she did not know him and that he was there to kidnap her. The instructor then asked the man to leave, but he said he was not going anywhere. He then tried to force himself further into the dojo, aggressively pushing. I then went into action, defending myself, and got him out of the dojo. Once outside, he attempted to attack again, and he was dealt with accordingly. Now, from the jovial to the downright depressing, but for a really weird reason, because this is the man who married a hologram this weekend.
Oh.
Good for him.
Looks like an incel.
Good for him.
What?
Love is a powerful thing. It
Yes,
can come in
but-
many forms.
Oh no!
You know what? If a person
There
can fall in
was
love with a
another-
roller coaster
Story about
or
a
a train
woman
station,
having
Well, yeah,
sex with a ghost on the news this week or something.
he seems like such a nice guy too. Like, look at these pictures. Let's just look. I want to look through his wedding. These are his wedding photos. Okay. Like, this is a huge soiree for the hologram.
Where was this?
What?
Where was this?
Tokyo.
Okay.
Yeah.
of course.
Tokyo. He says society pressures you to follow a certain formula for love, but it might not make you happy. I want to be able to figure out what works for them. This hologram makes me happy. Shannon, as a psychologist, yeah, sure. Go ahead, Soch.
Oh, sorry. You know what? Compared to the other guys I have seen that I have witnessed in the past, I don't know, year and a half of my life, what a lack of love can do to them and turn them into, you know what? Good for this guy. I'm glad this guy was able to find true love in, that looks like Hatsune Miku. In Hatsune Miku. Good for that guy.
You know,
Well,
I hope you
My
live a
cousin-
wonderful,
how can you
fulfilling
argue
life.
that?
my cousin lives in Tokyo, and the Japanese, like, he was telling me about how they have this very, I don't know, complex relationship with love and sex, and a lot of men remain single and celibate and don't get married, and even couples they get married and then they don't have sex. So
Well, that's every marriage.
no, but this is like epidemic in Japan. They don't even tell their kids they love them. It's
Well,
What?
that could be a
Yeah.
a society thing. I just wonder, like, what's the Shannon, since you are psychology is your thing. Is this healthy? Like, is this a healthy thing to do?
I don't know that it's necessarily healthy, but it's not particularly harmful. Like, there's no deleterious affect to it. Like, he's not hurting anybody at all. I don't know enough about him individually to make any sort of, assessment of his character or mental state. But I hope that he isn't withdrawing from other social interactions. I mean, people are asexual and never want to pursue a physical relationship with anybody, and that's fine. Everybody has their own different inclinations. My only concern would be that he was doing this out of a sense of desperation or not having another option, and he's projecting, which isn't particularly healthy. But aside from that, I mean, he's not hurting any. Like, he looks to be content, and he's not causing any harm to anybody. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
He's a nice looking guy. I mean,
here.
he's not a bad looking guy.
Yeah, I just so long as he's in a healthy mental state, then that's
is
his
what I'm saying about-
damn business.
Sure. Salute.
This is what I'm saying about the Japanese culture, though, is that they're very into anime, and they have a whole subset of anime that's dedicated to romance, and even women don't get involved in relationships, and then they just read the anime. It's like Christine, what's her face, Yamako, or
Christina Yamamoto.
Yeah, Yamapar. She did a whole show on it. It's amazing, like the whole like way that the Japanese view love and how they view relationships. And so that's what I'm saying. Like this doesn't necessarily surprise me given the way that their culture is.
Well, it surprises me. Quite,
Yeah,
quite,
it's not
quite,
normal.
Watch that show.
quite a bit. Okay.
Actually, after that show, I had to have sex with my husband, so I wouldn't become someone that got into anime.
There you go.
Anime is great. I like anime.
All right. So let's move into. There we go. Let's move into some incels.
I'm not ready. I'm not ready.
And we don't have we actually don't have any coming on tonight. What I wanted to do tonight was I had a gentleman, and I'm not going to mention his name because I don't know if he wants to remain anonymous or not. But he sent over a plethora of information that he had been collecting over the course of several years, and it's just a very, very, very detailed, very information-packed, and nothing from a standpoint of like he's against them or anything like that. It's baseline like in his experience,
like more factual,
how things were. So
like a story.
Yeah.
It's like literally like a 66-page PDF document of the history.
Mm-hmm. And so I thought that would be because we're going to be having a couple more incel shows coming up. Sorry, Shannon. I thought it would be kind of cool to go through the history, and we're joined by social psychology who deals with this on a daily basis as well. And the interesting thing that I want to add, we ended on a really bad note on incel insight number 3 with those two. Now, King Gigacell has.
Yeah, that's when you told what's his face to like basically F off.
Yeah, and he reached out to me several times after that, trying to explain his position, and has asked to come back and explain.
Yeah, there's no explaining what he said.
Where that came from and all this other kind of stuff. And so we're in the middle of trying to figure out if that's something that we want to do or not. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you do, can I be on that show? Because I listened to it today, and I have so many words for them.
If he will, the thing is with him, he doesn't want it to steer away from the ending that happened on the show. So he was making it clear that it wouldn't be anything that would shoot off into any other points, because he wants to get like charts and graphs and like information, all that to bring back here. And so I'm going to take a look at what he's got, and then I'll decide from there.
Parts are meaningless. All of it's meaningless.
Well, it means nothing to the group of them, though.
Yeah,
I'm just being protective, and I was so mad after I watched that part. I wanted to strangle him.
I can handle that. That to me is like a you deal with that
average day.
Social psych. You were getting ready to say something?
It's the funny thing about the stuff that King Gigacell was saying about the whole neurons and IQ stuff. He claims to have a degree in neuroscience, I believe he said last show.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is that he was leaving out some really key details about the difference between male and female brains and how that affects intelligence. He left out some pretty key details that tells me either he didn't know them, or he did know them and he intentionally left them out. Either way, not a really good reflection on him. But I want to get into the stuff that I looked into about this afterwards. And unlike him, the stuff that I could bring up, I can source.
Uh-oh.
Yeah,
shots fired.
Like bilateral corpus callosum engagement.
Oh yeah, and who was the guy that was talking about neurons?
Hold on.
That's what we were talking about. King Gigacell.
Oh.
So what were you saying?
I've been reading papers for the past 3 3 or 4 days I've been reading neurology papers about localization of neuronal soma cells in between the sexes, and it's interesting stuff. And there is some localization, and there is a higher density in males. But the interesting thing about that is the higher density is unilateral, whereas in females it's bilateral. And there's also some really interesting sex differential research that shows that females are almost unilaterally stronger in vocal comprehension exercises, where men are stronger in spatial orientation, which makes some sense. But I can't find any research that has anything that indicates that either sex has more or less activation in prefrontal, front, or frontal cortical areas. There's a lot of evidence regarding speech areas, visualization areas, but nothing anywhere in the brain that would have to do with cognitive function or reasoning. And there's a lot of really interesting research on how women are able to better incorporate unilateral function in their cognitive processing, whereas men are a little bit more lateral, and it seems to be more to the right hemisphere of the brain. So it's really interesting stuff. There is some detail that is worth discussing, but none of it points towards any sort of cognitive impairment in women that would in any way lower their ability for logical processing.
Are you sure that just as a woman you're not comprehending?
I don't know.
The data?
I don't know. Who knows,
What
right?
I
I
found
don't
is
know.
statistical data, the facts. The thing is, if you put out certain detailed information, if I wanted to, I could bring up basic information about the female brain composition and make it seem like women are the more intelligent gender, if I wanted to right now. Do you want me right now? Well, it's been shown that while, yes, men's brains are physically larger, white matter in the female brain, which has been shown, according to the University of Irvine, to have a positive correlation in intelligence, and white matter is 10 times more prevalent in female brains than male brains on average. Also, neural efficiency, a large factor in intelligence, is much more common in the female brain. So essentially, the neurons that women do have, there's much more connections between them, meaning women can process information much faster. So clearly, women are the more intelligent gender, except they're not, because I don't hate men.
We work smarter. Our brains work smarter, not harder, is what you're saying.
No, well, it's also not really true. But she's just demonstrating they're just demonstrating that.
No, yes. Yes, I understand.
But a lot of some more of the neurology. I'm such a brain nerd. The neuropile. Sorry, I'm pronouncing it incorrectly. But women have a significant amount more neuropile, which accumulates in the white matter. Neuropile is essentially unmyelinated somatocells, like potential neurons, and we have significantly more of those, which would indicate that we have a little bit more overall brain plasticity or potentiation for brain plasticity, because we can develop newer neural areas overall. Like, so some of it's really, really interesting, but it all depends on the area of the brain that we're looking at too, because there's localization of function, right? Anyway, I could talk about this for hours, so I'm going to shut up. Anyway.
Is there anything that points? Is there anything out there that points directly to what they were saying, or either way?
No.
I will just say from like I don't have the neurological background or psychological background that Shannon does, and I can't speak to this as eloquently as she does. But I found their argument that women are more empathetic and more caregiving and make decisions based on emotions rather than on facts and logic to be actually really. I couldn't understand why they were using that as an argument, because in many of the areas that I see, especially like in family dynamics with friends, and it's the women that in the relationships that are making the financial choices, that are making the choices for their families, that are, managing the finances, that are also working. So what I couldn't understand is, why is it bad for a woman to be empathetic. It's not. It means that you're thinking of others when you make decisions. And the whole idea that we don't think about the consequences, to me, is ludicrous, because I think women more than anyone are constantly thinking about what's going to happen when they make a choice.
Well, you're just being sexist.
Oh.
It's also a false dichotomy to begin with, because it leads you to think of cognition as though there's some sort of empathy to intellect ratio, that, you know, once you increase empathy, you decrease intellect, and it's just not the way that it works. There is evidence that women tend to have more affect towards empathetic behaviors, and there is some evolutionary backing for that. So I'm not going to disagree with that, but I do disagree with that indicating that they have lower intellectual capabilities.
Well,
because
I mean, and then
it doesn't follow. It's a non-sequitur.
There's intellectual capability, there's emotional intelligence, and I think these men are lacking in emotional intelligence.
And let's also just point out that maybe when women live in a society where they're trained from birth to be the nurturing and caring one between the two genders, they're going to be a little bit more emotional and caring about people when they think about stuff. It's really how that works, isn't it?
And men have empathy too. Men are filled. Men are empathetic.
Of course, we're human. We all have empathy.
Exactly.
I'm overflowing.
I feel like they live in this, like, they want to live in the 1950s again, where women were repressed and alcoholics at home because their husbands were working all the time, but we were happy. No, we weren't. Women weren't happy.
Yes, we were. Yes, you are.
You hear the same thing about African. You hear the same thing about African Americans. There are people out there. I've listened to I don't know how many debates on YouTube between people that will make the case that African Americans in the 50s and 60s were happier than they are now. And you have to kind of think about what it takes to have somebody tell you that people who were actively, like blatantly discriminated against were much more happy and carefree. The society is different now. Like that's what pissed me off in the first place when they were on here, when they were talking about how if you just go back and you just ask people back in the old days, if you just go back and you see how they were, and yes, do you know why? Because if you just go back to those old days, it was the white men who were going to be making the answers for you. You know, women couldn't make decisions, and African Americans couldn't make decisions. So I
think, like, when they were talking about that, my first thought went directly to my grandmother, who was a devout Catholic and who was married to a man that she pretty much hated. And they had 4 children, and they fought all the time, and both of them drank way too much, and they never got divorced because of the church. And I think of a lot of the relationships that were around them where you're just like, why are you still married? You guys hate each other, you know? And they were emotionally and physically not nice to each other. I don't think that their idea of happiness is in reality.
Well, that's another thing that they brought up too, is that the women are getting, or not women, but people are getting divorced at a rate that's just unheard of, and you didn't have that back then. They were citing the fact that divorce rates were lower back then as a good thing, and to me, I don't see that as the case. I think that's a bad thing for the exact reason that you just stated, because people were staying in relationships because it was looked down upon in society. You got a stigma to you. The church pressured you into staying into, loveless marriages. So that to me is not in any way, shape, or form a tick in their corner.
No,
okay. Let's go around.
Oh, sorry.
Real quick. You start us out.
All right. I would also like to point out that divorce rates actually, in the U.S. at the very least, peaked in the 70s, because that is when it became much easier for couples to be able to divorce. And since then, the rate of divorce, at least in the U.S., has been declining ever since. So the reason divorce rates skyrocketed all of a sudden after the 1950s and 60s is because people were now allowed to leave these shitty marriages easily.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
Right.
100%. All right, Katie?
Well, and people today are waiting longer to get married, and so that has decreased divorce rates because the older you are when you get married, the more in tune you are with who you are. You've sown your wild oats. You're not as, crazy. If I would have married someone at 21, like some of these women did, even 18, my grandmother was 16 when she had her first child.
Jeez.
I can't imagine.
No.
Where do you get these oats that you're supposed to go seed? I haven't gotten that package yet.
Oh, I sold a lot of them, man.
Oh, you bad girl,
I
Shannon.
saw-
Oh, but
many.
I'm probably a whore.
I am all in
I'm
oats.
probably a whore.
Oh man.
I'm a whore and I'm a slut to the incels.
You're triggering them now.
No, we're
All right.
roasties, and what are we? We're roasties,
Oh no,
thoughts,
no.
and Stacy's. Roasties,
Ro-
thoughts, and Stacy's. Although I'm not very
it's like-
Stacy-ish.
Just ride the cock
Yeah.
to
Oh, and my
yourself.
husband is such a child.
All right, go.
You're
Shannon.
such a beta. God
Shannon,
damn it, Kyle.
it's your turn.
Such a beta. Yeah, and also they didn't really have any. They were financially tied to their partners.
Yeah.
And there was no access to contraceptives as well at that point in time. So not only did you not have any job prospects because you were discouraged from or not capable of getting an education, or not able to, I should say, you were capable, not able to get an education, and discriminated against in the job market, so that you couldn't feasibly have any financial independence. In that marriage, you could have a multitude of children that you needed to care for. So you have a bunch of children. You would be leaving to essentially go to nothing, with no job prospects, with a pile of children and no education, with all of society looking down on you for having the absolute gall to be unhappy with somebody and want
Shame.
something
Right.
better.
I mean, exactly. Neither one of my grandmothers graduated high school. I mean,
Yeah. Now we can be independent. Whoops.
exactly.
Sorry,
Like,
guys.
I have a college degree, and now the poor incels are mad because I won't go out with them.
All right.
Damn their oppression.
So what I wanted to do is take a look at the just kind of briefly, because there's a lot in this thing, but I want to hit the main points. And I want to do it in a way where we're not. I don't want to get in the habit of dogging them individually I want to approach this stream in a just looking at what he has gathered in the data and discussing it as it is in black and white, and seeing how that can kind of come out of nowhere. So I don't want it to turn into a dogging each other. That we can do that on the streams where they come in and they actually are fighting tooth and nail. But I want to look at this in like a serious sense, and how you get to this point, because we've gotten to this point obviously, and we've gotten to it in a big way because there's a lot of them, and it's growing, it's not decreasing. So this is obviously an issue, and I'm gonna read out what he lists as the top reasons that incels exist, or what they attribute their celibacy to, and then Social Psych, I want to hear from you on what you see, since you're dealing with this every day, and you can kind of tell me of this list if that covers them all, or if there are some others that you see in your everyday that could be added to that. But what he attributes it to is geographic isolation, social isolation, work-related stress, economic hardship, discouragement from past experiences, unconscious repetition of childhood patterns, unresolved family issues, anxiety, low self-esteem, physical illness, and primacy incels. This means everything is okay in life except, for some reason, sex and relationships. So everything, by all other means, their life's okay. They just had this one hang up on sex. Is there anything there that you see should be added, or any other types of instances that you've come across?
Hmm. I mean, that was a pretty long list, but I mean, the thing is that I don't know a lot of the lives of these guys, you know? And
Right.
sometimes when they say something that has happened in their life, you know, oftentimes I find that I don't really believe it, but other times it seems that, oh, a lot of them seem to have family issues, I would say. Was that on the
Mm-hmm.
list?
It was.
Oh, okay. Honestly, on that list, that really did cover what I often see from what I can tell from a lot of these guys' backgrounds,
Okay.
what I know about them. So personally, I have nothing to add to that.
Okay. And
Was like agoraphobia on there?
I think that would fall under the location cell category. The people who are they're involuntary celibate either because they live in an area where they don't have access to people, or it's an environment
It's
issue.
social isolation, but yeah.
I Here's my question though. My question is, out of that list could literally apply to anyone, any regular person that doesn't identify as an incel. What makes you go from the things on this list to starting to project all of your angst and your anger onto other people? Because I feel like at some point all of us have fallen in at least one of these categories, whether it be work-related stress, economic hardships, anxiety and depression, unresolved family issues. We all fit in each one of these categories at some point in our lives. But what makes them take the extra step from this to now they're in this dark, dangerous kind of behavior?
Internalized patterns of coping methodology and exposure to people who have undue influence over you by virtue of looking for camaraderie in a community of people you can commiserate with.
So it's the social aspect.
And I feel like the echo chamber sort of reinforces the negative talk and reinforces sort of those patterns of toxic topics getting exposed. And I feel like in a lot of these communities, there's this whole level of that one up of like who can be, the most controversial, who can say that something that the most vulgar, who can be the most dark. And it seems like these forums really encourage that.
And
If you're sorry, go ahead, Kyle.
no, go ahead.
If you're seeking an external explanation for something that you see as an undue hardship, like if you're externalizing that as a problem rather than internalizing it as a problem, rather than looking internally for a way to find a solution, if you're saying that this is something that is happening to me and I must find the reason, and it's something that is emotionally detrimental enough to you that you have the wherewithal to seek out people who are of like minds and commiserate, and you do happen to find one of these forums, it may speak to you because it gives you the validation that the cause of this is external and it doesn't lie with you. On top of that, once you are inside these forums and you have that validation and you find that camaraderie, they do a couple of things that would help to keep you there and reinforce that mental affect. For example, they consistently post things that enforce their perspective on things like the black pill and women, and there's socialized ostracization and punishment if you post anything that contradicts that. If you display an opinion in this community that contradicts the narrative that they're running with, you can be booted from that community, and then you're back in social isolation. You no longer have the camaraderie that you found with that community. And if you are socially isolated, and that is a community where you can at least interact and feel as though you're understood, you're more apt to go along with something or convince yourself that you believe something that you may not have otherwise in order to maintain those relationships that have now become important to you.
It's briefly, I wanted to sort of give you guys the timeline, because I think this is important too. This movement has taken a lot of. It's evolved a lot.
Twists and turns.
Yeah, it's evolved a lot, and they've been called many things. You might recognize some of the names. You might not, and I'm not going to go through and read the detail. We'll get into the actual details of this on a later episode. But this is just kind of like an intro crash course into incel. But Invicel was the name from 1993 to 1997. This was a blend of involuntary and celibate. I guess that was its original name. They just dropped the V later on. After that, in
Yeah,
the late
they dropped the D because they didn't want it to sound like imbecile.
well, there's an interesting caveat to that we're going to get to here in just a second. But after that, they changed it to, they were called Alt Support Shyness. That went to the late 90s until a Wikipedia article hit in 2004, and the first Wikipedia article that mentioned incels came about a half of a decade after the beginnings of the community sprang up in the 90s. It debuted on January the 15th, 2001, and you can still use archive.org to pull up this article. It lists them as gender neutral. It was unbiased, and I brought this up to say this because Shannon and I did a stream with a guy in October. What's that? And he was telling, yeah, and he was telling us how it used to be a very supportive group. It was something that was positive. There wasn't any of the black pill or anything that you see like that. And he actually sent me some screenshots from back then of the forum, and the posts were very positive. It was, what I'm doing, things like what I'm doing today to, feel better. It was all encouraging aspects of it. And he said it helped him a great deal, and that ultimately he left though because, as you'll see here in just a second, a split came, and as a whole, the group decided to go into the.
You're missing something here though. Incels used to include women. It used to be
Oh,
men
no.
and women.
None of these.
Yeah, you
did.
said they were gender neutral.
Yeah, none of these did.
Oh.
Oh, no, because in that information that he provided, the groups had men and women in them.
There were groups online that did cater to both of them. On this particular track that I'm reading from the third link, it's how the men's because it breaks off into men's rights going men going their own way, pickup artists, that sort of thing. Because it splinters off. Those three branches all come from the same starting point. The MGTOW movements that you have.
Men and women. Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, like in general, they all came from one location. Like you had men's right activists. Now you've got pickup artists. Although, are there still pickup artists? Like the people that identify as pickup artists?
God, yes.
Are there?
Roosh, Jesus frick. Yes.
Do you deal with that,
God,
Soch?
No, those guys are a different type of animal. But we do deal with men going their own way. They are often we consider them just incels with a couple extra steps.
So what's worse, an incel, a pickup artist, or a MGTOW?
Oh, Jesus, why do I have to choose? Why do I have to choose? That's a horrible decision.
Just an opinion, like from your experience.
Can I say pass on that question? Please?
Sure.
God.
Sure.
A pass.
Sure.
Oof.
Now one forum that sprang up that I thought was interesting was called Praising Misogynistic Killers.
Regular Tuesday on any incel site I know of.
I don't know. Like I'll forward you this when we get done, so you can look through it. It's a lot of stuff. Like it's like this guy went above and beyond researching this. I mean, it's like academic papers that he's putting together here,
It
and
really
they're
is.
yeah, it's
Well, and he was an
With
incel.
citations.
yeah, yeah.
So
He actually
many
cites his work.
citations.
But yes,
He
this
does.
I'm not going to mention the guy's name because I don't know if he wants that out there or not. But I do want to give him the credit for this. I just have to talk to him and see how he wants me to put that in the description. But I'm actually trying to get him to come on to the show because he's a former incel. He was deep in it, and now he's taking an approach of trying to get the history together and what can be done, to because you have to think about it this way too. The interactions that we've had on this show were with like the really really dark, the really bad actors of the group. I would never paint all of them as a whole with a broad brush. I don't think that all of them are like that. I don't think that every single one of them are creepy and cringy. I think they're lost, and I think that they see a community of other people who are jaded, and we should be trying to figure out how to get those people that are in that mindset back on the other side of sanity before they cross over into this woman hating, dark and just violent aspect, because eventually you're going to cross one of two thresholds. You're either going to wake up and say, this is not what I want to do. This is just, no one should think like this. Or you're going to embrace it. You're going to do as they say, take the black pill. And it's a scary thought. It's a very scary thought.
Well, and he describes the black pill phenomenon as really the extremists of the group, but he also said that the whole movement has become extreme.
As a whole, I would say yes. But now, if you broke it down, I don't think. Go ahead, Shannon.
I was just a lot of people in the there are a really really nefarious dark aspects to it, and they're prevalent. They are incredibly prevalent on any of the forums that I've been on. They're prevalent. Like, you can't miss them. The public, you can't miss them. They're undeniable and they're prevalent. However, that is not an indication of the mindset of everybody who belongs to that forum. There are strings there that are supportive. You have to look for them, but there are strings there that are supportive. And I don't want to just get into a mindset where we're just saying everybody who identifies in this fashion is this thing because these people who purport to represent them have presented themselves as that thing, because then instead of actually helping people who may need help or convincing them that there's another way that might be better, or other groups that they can reach out to that may be more beneficial to them, we risk pushing them deeper into a darker hole by virtue of character assassination. We're reinforcing their beliefs about people like us. We're essentially saying, yeah, you're all worth mocking, and we don't like you, and we think you're stupid, and we think you're dumb, and you guys are right about us.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't want that.
A lot of them are. Don't get us wrong. We're going to call a spade a spade.
Yes, they are, and I'll call them out individually. But I don't want to generalize, because if there's even one person that gets out of that because of a conversation like this and says to themselves, "Okay, you know what? This is a bad idea. Now I'm seeing it. Now it's seeing sunlight in the light of day, and I'm seeing it through somebody else's eyes. And oh yeah, you know what? This isn't who I am." If even one person thinks that, then I'll be really happy. But in the end,
yeah, and there are I want to get this out of the way, and so this is where I think your expertise is going to come in, because I do want to tackle this. I think this is important. There is a huge aspect of that forum that caters to and in many ways supports and condones conversations about relationships with underage people. That has to be that has to be, I think, the most important issue to tackle first off,
Yep.
because you're putting potentially grown men in the mindset perpetuated by other people that it's okay, or
They
that
normalize it.
they get desensitized to it. And
Yeah.
there's an interesting thing that happened with incels back in I think it was October. Their original forum was incels.me, and
Yep,
that
I remember that.
that forum was taken down because this is not a big, like an everyday occurrence when a domain provider comes in and says your content is too graphic, we cannot host it, we will not host it on our platform. Like that's a big deal. And so incels.me was taken down and dismantled, and they had to jump up with incels.is. But Soch, can you kind of talk to the point about the underage issue, because I'm sure you see that a lot. I saw it just, you know,
With
browsing through.
Catfish Man,
Yeah.
we saw it.
I
Well, I first want to start off by saying it freaking took them long enough to get rid of incels.me. You know, before incels.me, there was incels.org, and they got kicked off of, what was it, GoDaddy? For a very similar reason. I first want to say. But the thing with the pedophilia, well, yeah. Well, let's start off by saying, I think there's an aspect of this idealization of young women, young children, that is, where they are pure, they're innocent, they haven't been touched by the degeneracy of sex in the way that adult women have, and they sort of feel that if they were to get in the clutches of these children, that maybe somehow they would find fulfillment that they would never be able to find with an adult woman. Also, I want to say that there's a lot of rationalization of pedophilia with these guys. You know, whenever you bring up with them that, hey, you being attracted to a 14-year-old child is really gross, that's pedophilia. 9 times out of 10, the one thing they'll always say is, it's not a pedophilia, it's hebophilia. Oh, great, thank you for telling me that you're just a pedophile who likes kids with tits. It's, I don't know, it's...
Oh man.
It's exhausting. I am dead inside from modding this subreddit. I'm absolutely dead inside.
Today I seriously found the most disturbing thread where a guy talked about how he's primarily interested in only like girls over 12, but he's not opposed to licking the vagina of like a 3-year-old.
Yeah, I'm not even surprised by that. And you mentioned this before the stream. Didn't he post that because he wanted his shit to get posted onto our subreddit?
No, that was a completely different one.
Oh, so he just fucking did it just to do it. My God.
Yeah, he did. No, the one that I was talking about with you was the one where he wanted to choke out a woman.
I will say this though, King Gigasale. I did see a post when I was collecting some posts when they were coming on. There was a post to everyone in the forum from King Gigasale that was berating the people who were having these conversations about girls that were 14 or under, and he was, active. I mean, it was a long post, but he did really go after them. I will have to give him that much, that he did admonish, that act. That was my main concern, because with Catfish Man, he has a history of that. I didn't know this when he came on. I wanted to make sure that wasn't going to be the case with these guys coming on, because
Catfish Man had a history of liking younger girls.
Well, I don't know that I can't say that he did anything with younger girls. I can only say that the conversations he was having were extremely inappropriate and leaned towards an inappropriate. It was just inappropriate conversation about
He was
minors.
having sexually explicit conversations about minor girls.
Yeah, you could read
And
between
he
the lines
defended
there.
it by saying, he's not really interested in those type of girls, but he wanted to explain to me why
Yeah.
some people might be, and I'm really having a trouble
I saw
talking
this.
right now after the 3-year-old. I'm emotionally
Yeah,
affected
come
by
to
that.
eventually.
You know,
We'll
the
get
credit
to it.
of to the credit of that comment was there was several people in that thread that were like, "That's disgusting. That's gross. Like, get help."
Why doesn't that
Like,
get you ejected from that forum?
Right.
I don't know.
Why
Right.
why is that not an
know.
instant ejection?
Right.
Why?
And why is that
Somebody
post
explain
still
that.
there?
I
Why is the
don't
post
know.
still there?
It was
Like-
there
Because
this
on some level,
afternoon.
they're okay with it.
Well, that's the biggest hiccup to me. Like, okay, it's one thing if you like we had Sarge on here too. Sarge runs that forum. Okay, he seemed like he had of all of them, he had his head on his shoulders. He was the he presented a strong case. If I'm him, I can't wrap my mind around this line of thinking. If you run a forum like that, there are going to be times where people are going to say things on there that you don't catch immediately, and that you don't condone. And when it's brought to your attention or you catch it, you remove it because you don't want people like us who are on the outside seeing things like that and thinking that that in any way, shape, or form reflects on you. Because having something that explicit, that illegal, that disgusting, you have a choice there. And your choices are just one of two. You either remove it, proving that you don't condone that, it doesn't reflect who you are, or you condone it. And by ignoring it or by just leaving it there, that is condoning it. With you knowing that something like that is on there, just because you turn a blind eye to it, you can't say that you're not, like Shannon said, complicit, because you are. You know it's there.
It was seriously so graphic. I mean, he was talking about.
Well, don't go into details. I don't.
And
I don't want to go into details.
Shocked. I was shocked that I was reading it, and I was like, "How is like?" Because I was reading through the documents that your friend sent to you about the history and all of the different forums that have been shut down for this kind of stuff, and I thought, "How is this okay?"
It's not. Well, another question that I have too is why isn't the FBI or other government agencies not coming in and getting involved in that? Like when you talk about doing something like that with a 3-year-old, that should be like you should be investigated to the hilt by every government agency that we have.
Or 13-year-old.
Yeah.
Let me say that a lot of our users are very familiar with leaving a FBI tip online. But I honestly don't know. I mean, you can't really prove that these guys are going to do these things, unfortunately. And let me say this, Kyle, that if Sergeant Incel were to moderate the content that appears on incel.is, a lot of the users would start complaining and saying that the site has become quote-unquote cucked. As many people said with brain cells, the previous incel forum of choice, once they started moderating their stuff properly, especially because the person moderating that was a female mod, I should mention.
So
that goes to my initial point.
So this is why
that goes to my initial.
Yeah.
That goes to my initial point about how they retain people in these mindsets, because if you don't go along to get along, you're ejected from the group. And then if you perceive yourself as being entirely socially isolated, and all of a sudden the only place you have to turn for camaraderie and commiseration, and you're not engaging in those behaviors, for example, but you're using some of the subforms, you'd be more likely to not speak up against something like that if you see loud people doing so, because you'd be afraid that you're going to lose your place or you're going to be ejected for speaking up. So you're more likely to be complicit.
Well,
because
what I
you
thought
don't want to lose your spot.
thought was interesting in what your friend had written in that document was that when people do speak out or create subthreads that are critical of the behavior, it's moderated out, it's deleted, it's
Yeah, that's
rejected from the
deleted.
group. Yeah.
That's
They get
deleted.
shit on.
They will
And
delete
so,
somebody who says they had a sexual relationship 15, 20 years ago.
yeah.
They'll delete
But
that
then,
because it triggers people. But pedophilia conversations, that's censorship.
right.
And
I see this, I mean, I'm not going to lie, I see this all the time in childbirth groups. It's the same way. It's just, it's echo chambers of brainwashing, of bad thoughts, and they desensitize themselves, and they only want to hear like what they want to hear, and they don't want any conflicting or outside opinions. They just want everyone to be kind of in the same mindset. And what I found interesting with what I can't remember, we're not saying his name, I'm sorry, with what he put together is that what's happened is that this has created the extremism within the incel communities, and it's why these communities have become so extreme. And he was saying you can expect them to get more extreme.
I have here that I want to go through. He did a really good job of breaking down the crime aspect of each sort of subgroup of incels, like true cells, brain cells. Like he grouped them together and then put what their keywords were, or the most used words when they were posting or whatever, and broke it down for each group. And I found this fascinating, so I'm going to go through a couple of these with you. So for true cells, crime and glorification of violence and mass killers happens often, with frequent mentions of Columbine shooters, Elliot Rodger. The keywords that reign supreme for true cells are serial killers, violence, justifying rape, suicide of victims of rape, forum prizes for raping, rape survey, going Columbine. There's even a Hall of Heroes subforum that is dedicated to the worship of these killers. They call Elliot Rodgers the distinguished gentleman. For true cells. What's that?
Saint Elliot.
Yeah.
That's what they call him.
Well,
Or who's the other guy? George Sodani, or what's his name?
I don't know.
Sodani was this. He talked about some guy named Sodani too that killed a bunch of people
I'm not
too.
familiar.
I hadn't got that far
I'm not
yet.
familiar with him, but moving on.
All right, so if you go to let me pull up that next page. There's he talks briefly here about the splinters and the takedowns of posts. We were just hinting on that. Based on his observations, the main thing that prevents forums from splintering is identifying and calling out specific individuals as leaders and trying to contact the internet hosts directly. An example of successful takedowns was Nathan Larson. And the problem is that after takedowns, websites do get reestablished. In fact, in the time it takes to make this PDF, the websites have morphed, are back online, and this PDF is now technically obsolete. So he's making a point that unless something happens in the inside of the actual community, the trying to get them pushed off of a forum, they're just going to go and move to a different place.
Yeah, and I mean, he put through all the different like websites they've gone through just in the last year.
Hold on, guys. I've lost my place here. Here we go. Okay, so for true cells and pedophilia, regarding the law, the FBI had given a subpoena to Cloudflare, which I guess is the host of that particular website. Here is a compilation of some posts made by the administrator of True Cells at the time that they were being investigated. Quote, the subpoena is already from the FBI. goodness, I hate normie virtue signaling piss contests. They summoned Cloudflare, some reverse proxy that hides our server, to court. Cloudflare has to snitch on us unless we cease and desist. That is why we ask you to tone down the extreme posts until we find another reverse proxy and or another server. In response to which thread motivated it, I don't know. There was so many. The busybody who reported us lied about there being child porn on our sites and actual plans to rape. Both are completely fabricated. We even have it in our rules not to do that. And I think that's a tongue-in-cheek statement. You know what I mean? Like, they're saying that as a way to cover, because by this point they know that the FBI is looking into it. Now the last one says, in response to, by cease and desist, you mean just closing the forum? It meant stop being so openly pro-pedo. We need to stop being so openly pro-rape. Let's make JBS our slaves post. What's JBS? You know what that is?
Jailbaits.
There you go.
Jailbaits. It's another word for little girls.
Okay, so let's make jailbaits our slaves. Post, and then it says unintelligible. So those are the posts that they posted, knowing this is when they knew that they were being monitored, when they knew someone was listening in. All right. So, and they're not even then actively trying to cover anything up. Like, there's no sugarcoating any of that. There's no trying.
It's a fucking joke. They think
Right.
it's just a fucking joke.
Right.
What's the word, when you just submerge yourself in the love of everyone fucking seeing you as disgusting in every type of way. They lavish in that. Is that the word? Lavish.
Lavish is a good word. Lavish is a good word.
Rebel.
Yeah, revel. And we're at the hour and a half mark for tonight, but I think that we got a lot in on that, but we didn't even touch the surface. Like, you can ask Shannon.
Enough that I'm gonna cry myself to sleep tonight, probably.
Well, you know, and
You get
like,
used to it.
Is that how we know that we've had enough? When I'm like,
people have been asking, you know, why don't you let this go? Why don't you give this a rest? And there's a reason why. There's a very good reason why. I'm not going to do that, and that is for the people that we're talking about here, for the underage people, the people who have the potential to get in any way, shape, or form caught up in something with these guys. I think that if you continue to hold that light on them and you continue to hold their feet to the fire, they're going to have to do one of two things. They're inevitably going to have to choose whether or not they're going to be on the side of this, or they're going to be on the side of acknowledging that maybe they don't fit in with society, maybe they are awkward, maybe they have quirks, or they don't think that they're attractive enough, but they need to be with the people that are going to give them the steps and what they need to feel better about themselves first. This other side is nothing but trying to tear everything down, watch the world burn, scorched earth policy. They want to what is the thing with the rope?
yeah, Copa rope.
Yeah. I mean, that's the
Well, this is it. These aren't. I mean, I think the thing is, you have to remember this. These aren't these communities are not victimless. Like, I
Certainly
wrote a piece after one of your, I think it was your first show in October, and one of my readers reached out to me, and she said, I was in Toronto and I was almost hit by the van by, who was the guy that drove the van into the
Alex Minison, I think. Missian, I'm not sure. His name is Alec.
Yeah.
No.
He was aiming for her, and she got out of the way, but she watched people get killed. And she thanked me for writing about this because it's not talked about at all. And she watched people get murdered, by this man, and she watched the shootout that happened. It's these aren't victimless crimes, or these aren't victimless like forums. They're talking about raping women. They're fostering misogynistic views that are harmful for women, for children. Yeah.
Not enough people know
But
about this community. That's for sure.
uh,
Okay, I'm gonna give
it,
you social. I'm gonna let each of you have a state. Say whatever you want to close out and wrap up. And take as long as you need. So, social. We'll start with you.
well, to reply what you said about it being a victimless crime, what I would imagine an incel would say to that is, come on, this is just online venting of some virgin males. What, you're not going to let us vent online about our crimes against us? I don't know.
Yep.
But I don't know. I guess you guys are now kind of going down the rabbit hole that I'm already 20 feet deep in, and I'll tell you, once you get down here, you get numb to it. You don't feel anything. It's awful.
That's a tough pill to swallow.
It gets to the point. And it gets to the point where, when you're down here, I commend you guys for doing this, because you're all putting yourselves in some serious danger by showing your faces. Everyone is probably has, if you haven't noticed by now, I'm using a voice modulator because I don't want to give any indication of who I am in real life, because I don't want to be assaulted. So, hey, you know what? Who knows? I'm just an IT roasty cuck.
You're still doing a good thing. You can't you can't forget that. You've been doing it for a year and a half, and I think what you guys do is great, because not enough people know about this this group, and I think that if it got a little bit more light, they wouldn't have this corner to hide in. If everybody knew what they were doing, you couldn't ignore it anymore. And I think that it's time that we stop ignoring such an obvious problem. Shannon.
Hi, yeah. So I agree with Kyle there. I think that this is valuable because it shouldn't be ignored anymore. Not only because it's potentially dangerous to women and children, but also because it's potentially dangerous for the people that inadvertently get sucked in because they feel as though they have nowhere else to turn, and who become coerced and deluded and start to buy in to some of the more dangerous nonsense that is purported there. And I would like to see other forums pop up for people who are in this position, where they can find better, more helpful emotional support and provide support for each other in a more healthy fashion that isn't talking about 13 and 4-year-old girls and exchanging used tampons with one another and talking about how great murderers are because at least they can still get laid in jail, and talking about how all women are awful for whatever various number of reasons, and forcing themselves into further social isolation by holding these incredibly deleterious ideologies that are nefarious, mind-rotting ideologies that'll only serve to push you farther away from the society that you may desperately want to be a part of. So that's my hope for this, is that it'll either reform or somebody else will create a space where the people that should be elsewhere can go and feel comfortable and supported, so that they don't have to be there anymore and that they just dwindle away into the darkness.
Can we see if we can get the domain incels.happy?
Yes. Incels.support.
I can get it. I have
Katie?
a Bluehost account.
Katie?
Well, with everything that I uncover, and, much like the moderator with, IncelTears, is I'm very numb to a lot of the things that I write about. I'm sure you are too, Kyle. I mean, we see a lot of really tough stuff. And
I don't deal with anything this dark. Nowhere close.
Most of what I write about
I do.
is extremely dark. I deal with a lot of children being abused. I deal with a lot of murder stories of children. I deal with a lot of children who are autistic that are being abused by their parents. And I tweeted Shannon today because my son is autistic, and I noticed in these forums there are a lot of men that identify as autistic who have said that they have a lower IQ. And I worry about individuals like this because that is my son. My son has a low IQ. My son has autism. And, in people like that are extremely vulnerable and they're very easily manipulated. And they're finding themselves in these communities maybe because they feel socially awkward, because they don't feel like they can communicate with the outside world. And that's the danger of people getting involved in these communities, is that there's people that aren't intellectually astute to understand that what's going on is craziness, and not to mention just the horrific things that they say about women. Women are so much more valuable than what these men think. And part of me wants to be like the mom that I am and just hug them and tell them, like, you guys just need to have better self-esteem. And then the other part of me wants to punch them in the face for saying the things in which they do.
Punch them, then hug them. That's the better.
Yeah,
that's the better.
yeah. But I think that there is value in these, because just like with this, when I write about, for instance, like women that choose free birth, which is crazy and reckless, anytime that you can put these type of stories out, there's always going to be people that are on the fence, that are maybe questioning the community, that realize and hear a different perspective and hear what people on the outside think, and they go, oh crap, maybe this isn't okay, and doing these kinds of, having them on and sharing about the community, it will help some of them get out of the community. It's a cult. I mean, plain and simple, it's a cult like all the other cults out there.
Amen.
It's a sect.
I do want to extend an invite too. I know it seems that we have only had the worst of the worst incels on, but I just haven't been contacted by anyone that feels differently than these guys do. If you feel differently and you're watching this and you want to come tell your side of the story of the incels that are not like that, I'd love to have you on too. It's not that we're trying to paint a dark picture of a group, and we're only picking out the ones that are going to be controversial or dramatic. Those literally are the only ones that I have that have interacted with me and that have contacted me. That's it.
I think you'll have a hard time finding anyone that would speak out about them.
I personally know a couple people who do associate themselves with the incel community, but could actually help shed an actual more positive light on the less hateful side. But I think the only downside is that if we were to bring them on, a large part of the incel community would call them a fake cell cuck. But you know what? I'll ask them. I'll ask them how they would feel about coming on.
Well,
that's why I was gonna say you might have they might have to like conceal their identity because they're gonna lose face with their group.
Which is fine. I mean, I don't have a problem with that.
That's fine, but by the same token, if they conceal their identity, then the people within the group are just going to say that they're made up, because they've said all kinds of ridiculous stuff anyway. They said that you and I got paid to like make fun of like somebody paid us. I was like, really?
Oh my gosh.
Well,
that's what
I'm gonna end.
You guys know that I'm on Big Pharma's payroll, right? I am on Big Pharma's.
I'm gonna end tonight with an email from Catfish Man that I received 2 days ago.
Oh fuck!
I figure we'll end tonight on a light note.
I don't even want it.
Okay, hi Kyle. This is Catfish Man. After all your ranting and raving about incels, including me, a non-incel, so he's actually saying that he is not an incel now. Well, let me explain to you and your beta white knight mentality. You see, this is not good to have this kind of mindset. He's telling me that my mindset's not good. Why? Well, first of all, here we go. This is where it gets good. Why is it not a good mindset? Well, first of all, like the Tupac video I sent you, it speaks volumes. I'm not saying to disrespect women or treat women poorly, but you have to have a backbone and not get stepped on. In the past, I used to think having female friends was a good thing. Never have I thought I was owed sex from anyone. If sex happened, it happened. If the female was attracted to the male, then yes, 90% of the times, shit goes down. But most of the time, female friends are just female friends, and it doesn't go beyond that. That is why I personally never have female friends. Not because I want sex or get anything, but because...
women are only valuable for sex.
Right, but I don't think... He doesn't realize that, but just there's so many other points just like that in this email. You see, you and Shannon think that men should be friends with females to develop some kind of social skills or whatever. Sorry, I beg to differ. I never had to develop any friendship with females throughout my life. Now I want you to pay attention to he outlines what's wrong with him right here. Okay, I'm gonna back up a little bit. Sorry, I beg to differ. I never had to develop any friendships with females throughout my life. Me personally, I was able to develop this kind of knowledge, interacting with them and understanding with them, but not having a relationship in any shape with them. So where does this beta white knight mentality come into play? Well, first of all, men in this day are so pathetic, thirsty, and beta. You see, he's calling men thirsty when he is in a group that all they do is bitch about not getting raped.
I know, they're all a bunch of thirsty little bitches.
You see, I was one of those men. I did not have any self-respect until I started encountering females that were not nice and literally opened up my eyes. The reason why Shannon wants men to have this kind of friendship with males is based on one specific reason. To have men be pussy-whipped individuals.
Oh.
Whoa! The agenda! The feminazi, roasty landwheel whore agenda!
Why do you think...
You are such a feminist, Jen.
Why do you...
Starts with platonic relationships. That's how we get you.
Why do you think...
God forbid you try to make men happier.
Why do you think I didn't cater to her looks or worship her? I see no point. It's unneeded.
I will say, Shannon, you look pretty hot that night.
We're getting ready to get good. We're getting ready to get good. Yes, Shannon is an extremely attractive woman. But why does she need to be so babied for it? This is why men are so thirsty for female attention, that they are willing to go to great lengths to please women like her.
He has not been on my Twitter. He has not been on my Twitter at all.
All right.
We've
We've only got two more paragraphs to get through. Now let's discuss how you think I'm in a dark state. No, my friend Kyle, I am not. I'm actually very happy and content with my situation. The fact is, I know females are very visualized beings that I know it's up to them to choose. That is why I told Shannon about female nature. I like how they told you about female nature.
He told me, and now I know.
You see, if a majority of men understood female nature, men wouldn't be doing all the shit they do. I guarantee you that almost half the rapes and pedophile acts that are caused by men, if they knew how females view men, none of them would even have bothered. You don't...
Bothered!
That's a hot
bothered.
take.
Did you say fucking bothered?
I said bothered.
None of them would have bothered.
Bothered.
That's a brutal hot take right there.
Bothered. With a B.
Fuck
With
you,
a B.
Catfish man.
Yep. You don't understand,
I
men.
believe this was typed by an actual catfish.
I have some breaking news, maybe.
Okay.
Somebody just caught me up. I will not say who, but based on our conversation, someone has located where incel.is is located, and a report to the police may have been made.
Oh, that happens. I mean, that's good, but that they get those like day in and day out from people. I mean, it depends on like what country they're in, on whether or not they'll like actively do something about it. But that's good that people are willing to do stuff like that. You don't understand. Men can't compete in this dating society. Even average men literally have to compete in this day and age. I used to be that type of man. I had to put myself out there and work on myself. Now just imagine, for 14 years of doing that nonstop, that means I had to get myself down to the T and see what works. That's what you don't get. I literally had to try day in and day out, and still it wasn't good enough. I mean, I had sex with 30 plus females in a 14-year span and had been in 3 long relationships. Now here's the last paragraph, and then we're done. Well, I hope... Oh. Son of a bitch. My phone died. Let's go to iPad.
I think we got the
Cliffhanger.
general idea.
Cliffhanger. We have to commit. Look, social, this is what we do on this show. When we start something, even if it's a really bad idea, we commit. We do not turn around. If we're going to go down in a blaze, we're going to go down in a blaze of glory. All right.
God damn it.
Okay, here we go. Well, I hope you understand that the black pill is necessary for men to protect themselves and understand what females want and understand how their nature is. That is all I wanted to say. By the way, I'm not a pedo, and those Kiwi Farms accusations were fake. I did not sleep with 35 underage girls. I slept with 35 females, which included females that were married and had boyfriends. But yeah, I'm not a sex-crazed individual like you think. I'm just an expert on womanry.
Is that like falconry? No, you're not.
Now,
like the women were actually conscious that slept with him.
Now, here's the thing, though. I read in the Kiwi Farms thing. I read in the Kiwi Farms thing a story about him, him being trolled, and a group of people had him convinced that they were the FBI, and that they had all of this stuff on him, and that in order to get rid of the tapes that they had on him, he had to urinate in a cup and drink it. Now, I went on the forums. And read one of his posts, and somebody brought that up after we brought it up on the show. They said, "Did you really have somebody have you pee in a cup and drink it?" And it was a 16 post back and forth between them. Well, that was 3 years ago, man. It doesn't matter what happened 3 years ago. He verified that story at the end of that. By the end of that thread, he admitted what had happened and that was a true story. So
he peed into a cup because he had sex with minors. Basically.
No. These group of people convinced him that they were the FBI and said, "We've got all this incriminating evidence against you. There's only one way that you can get out of it, and that is to drink a cup of urine." Now, rational thinking people.
I'm saying that if he had incriminating evidence, wouldn't sex with minors be incriminating?
I don't
evidence?
know, and that's the thing that I don't want to speculate. Like I don't want to get in.
He doesn't have.
You don't want to speculate
He does not
on
have
a
a
man
lot of.
who has a pseudonym named Catfish Man. Okay.
I don't want to. Yeah, but that's a heavy. That's a heavy thing to levy against somebody. And unless I have I just don't want to.
I know. I'm sorry.
I just don't want to. I don't want to levy that.
He just said some really mean things about my homegirl, and I'm just not okay with that.
Fuck him.
Well, Catfish, listen, man. We wish you the best of luck in your womanry. We hope that you womanry from New York to LA, you womanry from Paris to.
No, I hope you're.
I'm telling you right now, though.
I hope you choke on your chest pieces and just die a miserable death. Because I hate you.
Oh my lord.
Well, there you go.
This is why I couldn't be on the show with him, because I would lose my mind.
So let's do this. Let's say goodbye to everyone. I want to thank you, Social Psych Project. Thank you for coming on. Proj. Oh.
Yeah.
Very,
first
very
time coming on the. First time coming on a podcast. I feel like I fucked it up a bit, but not like too much. Glad everyone was able to tolerate my dumb fucking voice modulator.
You were great.
So
you were fantastic. And we'll be having you back.
Thank you so much. You were so helpful.
Yeah, thanks.
We'll be having you back soon. And as always, thank you, Shannon, for. It's funny. I sent Shannon a message. This actually made me feel really bad. But I sent Shannon a message over Facebook. I can't remember what it was about now. And she said, Holy fuck. What is it now? You never just messaged me to say, hey.
It's a true story. Every
know,
time
like,
Kyle messages
It
me,
is
it's
true.
not like, how you doing today? It's like, you need to look at this shit.
No,
Wait
it's
until
just
you
like the
see
way
Yeah.
it's just like the way Kyle tags us on ridiculous bullcrap on Twitter, like that Andrew guy that was like losing his
That is not
mind
me.
today.
I did not tag.
I
did not.
needed that yesterday.
I did not tag anyone in Andrew. That's
Holy
Andrew. That's
shit.
Andrew being Andrew. Look,
Then
Oh.
he
listen,
tagged me. How does he know who I am?
listen. Truth,
No, it's because we were
justice,
tagged in the overall.
memes,
The
scattered.
logos. The logos.
Yeah.
The logos.
All right, guys.
The logos.
And as always, it's good to see
Logo
Katie.
Christianity.
Katie again. We'll be back next. Sunday. This week, what you have coming up? We're gonna have porn star Mercedes Carrera. She's back on the show. Trevor Valley and Dan Bidoni. They have been going at it like crazy on Twitter. They're finally meeting on Wednesday. And then Dr. Grady McGurdy, who is a well-known young Earth creationist. He will be here on Friday to discuss religion with us. And then, most exciting, on Saturday, everybody remembers Dr. Don Prothero. He is a world-renowned paleontologist and geologist. He is going to be having his first Flat Earth debate for Saturday Night Fights. He recently wrote a book on Flat Earth, so Dr. Don has agreed to come on and debate with a Flat
Is he
Earther.
you said he's a famous paleontologist?
Mm-hmm.
Can
Yeah.
you
He
get
is
an
so cool.
autograph for me for my son?
Sure. Yeah.
He like is obsessed
Dr.
with
Don,
dinosaurs.
Dr. Don, like if you Google him, he is like his resume is incredible on the stuff that he's worked on, and the guy's just a genius. And I put it out there. I said, Dr. Don, I know you recently did some work in some papers on the flat Earth. Let me just run this idea by you. You're probably going to say no because it's ridiculous, right? A world-renowned PhD arguing with a flat earther, and he was like, "Hell yeah, I'll do that." So, all right.
so cool.
Yeah, he is. All right, guys. Thank you for joining us again. We'll see you tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, right back here for NonSequitur. Make sure you check out all of these people here. They all have, Katie has a blog on Patheos, Without a Crystal Ball. Shannon Q recently now has a new Facebook and, of course, her channel. Shannon QTube, right?
Yeah, Shannon Q apostrophe too.
That's
Because
so catchy.
apparently you need a last name.
That's so catchy. And then up over top of the nun in the it'll be on your right hand side. The brown paper bag, that is the subreddit for IncelTears. Make sure you check them out as well and sub to them. And if you're not subbed to this channel, don't. You will save yourself a lot on your health insurance.
True story. Don't do it.
Follow me on
Never
Instagram.
follow.
Good night, everyone. In 3, 2, 1. Stopping stream.